I want to take a few minutes to share with you a little bit about myself and a bit about my vision for the Department of Human Rights. I was born in Omaha, Nebraska to two parents with high school diplomas who worked very hard for myself and my sister. When I was born, my dad worked for the post office, at the very lowest level in the post office. And my mom worked at a local utility company answering phones. We lived in a very modest two-bedroom house in Omaha, and the two bedrooms basically could fit on this respective stage. We lived in the heart of the African American community in Omaha. My dad decided to leave the post office to go work for United Airlines. He started as a baggage handler there. He got an opportunity to take a promotion to go to Chicago because they were opening up more activity for the United Airlines company in Chicago. We left Omaha just before my 5th birthday and just after my sister was born. Again, both of my parents had high school diplomas, but they worked very hard to improve themselves. My dad took an opportunity to work in the field of computers. I remember many times as a kid seeing both of my parents sitting at the kitchen table, challenging each other to expand the information and knowledge they had about the computer programming field. Some of you don't know because I can tell by the age of some of the people in the audience, but I'm old enough to remember key punching cards. And there's some of you who are a little older who can remember that and laugh. And sort of the old 11 by 7 green computer paper. When we first moved to the Chicagoland area, we lived in a very modest two-bedroom apartment. And until I was about 11, I shared the same bedroom with my sister. And I could tell more stories about that, but she's good size and my nephew's also good size, and I don't want to get on the wrong side of him. And looking back as an adult, my parents were doing all that they could to try to purchase a house. Again, this will probably date me, but I can remember green stamps. And cutting coupons was a sight that I remember all the time at the kitchen table. Fortunately, my parents were able to afford that house. They believed in providing for their children. They believed in the value of education and family. Both my sister and I graduated college. You already know that I went to law school. Within that introduction, it doesn't say that I was the first African American to be the editor-in-chief of the Law Review. And for those of you as it relates to what the heck is a law review, right? The current United States President was the first African American to be the president or editor-in-chief of the Law Review at Harvard. And it just so happens that was also the same year for both of us when we did that. My sister, a lot smarter than me, she decided to work in the field of education. And currently she teaches junior high in Little Rock, Arkansas. And she is continuing to pursue her master's degree. My sister and I, we didn't always have the latest and greatest toys, but we never wanted for food, shelter, encouragement, and most importantly, love. When my parents retired, they moved to my mother's hometown in Monticello, Arkansas. For those of you who do not know Monticello, Arkansas, and I'm sure that that's probably all of you unless you're from the southeast part of Arkansas, it's a very small town. It's a town of less than 9,500 people. My mom had a specific plan in mind. She wanted to move back to her hometown because she wanted to give back to the community. She got involved in a wide variety of activities in the church, in the community. And my dad didn't stay far behind that whirlwind of activity, but he stayed far behind enough to go back to school and get a college degree in accounting. I tell that because my dad, at some point in time when he was in high school, was told that he didn't have math aptitude to be a pilot. Now, I remember when I started this story, my dad started as a baggage handler, but he got into computer programming. And education was so important, he stayed with it and got a degree in accounting. Don't let people tell you you can't accomplish things. I no longer have my mother. About 2 years ago, she passed away, but before she did, she was awarded the Drew County Businesswoman of the Year. In Monticello, Arkansas, that's where Drew County resides. I feel especially blessed to be the son of George and Betty. I've been a lawyer for 20 years and have been involved in a wide variety of activities. I take seriously the mission of the Department of Human Rights to eradicate discrimination. Traditionally, the work of the department has been limited to 2 areas. The first area of focus for the department is to investigate complaints of discrimination. As an administrative agency, we issue probable cause determinations if we believe discrimination has occurred. In most instances in which we issue a probable cause determination, we work with the state's Attorney General's office. In those instances, we attempt to try and reach a settlement on behalf of the person for which we found probable cause for discrimination. And I would say, and again, this is a snapshot in the first 7 months, that about 90% of our cases after we found probable cause were able to achieve a settlement agreement. In about 10%, we either refer that out to another attorney to take it on, or we pursue what is called a commissioner's charge. And a commissioner's charge is where the department, in the name of the state, brings an action on behalf of the party. The second area of focus is contract compliance. When the department says contract compliance, we mean we ensure good faith, affirmative action efforts by people who do business with the state of Minnesota. If someone signs a contract or a company signs a contract with the state of Minnesota that's more than $100,000 or involves more than 40 employees, we review the efforts of that company to ensure that they're hiring people of color, women, and individuals with disabilities. The state of Minnesota writes into its contracts that those efforts should be maintained and should be tried by those people who do business with the state of Minnesota. And we enforce the terms of that contract. The work of the department in the area of investigations and contract compliance is not easy. We currently have fewer people in our department that are in this audience right now. I have been told less than 10 years ago that would not have been true. There would have been about 90 people in the Department of Human Rights. But currently we have 40, or less than 40. We have some big challenges ahead of us at the department. But I'm committed to continuing our work to eradicate discrimination by investigating charges and doing work in the area of contract compliance. But I'm also committed to embarking on a new vision for the department and I'm hopeful that you will be eager to partner with the department on this new vision. In researching the family partnership, I was struck by the bold declaration within your strategic plan. The strategic plan states, by 2015, the family partnership will be seen as the premier multicultural resource for families, communities, and policymakers. Seeking to advance children's development within a healthy family, supported by a strong community. It goes on to say that you will earn this reputation by helping and building partnerships with families and communities to build their social, emotional, and civic capital in order to create a better future for children and families. I was especially happy to see the way in which you define a couple of those terms. Social capital, you defined it as connections for economic opportunity, support, and safety. Emotional capital means love, adaptability, and staying power in tough times. Civic capital, families taking action to create a better future for all children. The strategic vision of the family partnership aligns with what I'd like to do with the new initiative within the department. This new initiative within the department is something that I refer to as the Initiative on Equity. The Initiative on Equity is premised on the concept that Minnesota, and for that matter the United States, can never reach the full potential of its greatness until all of its citizens have the opportunity to reach their full potential. This audience is all too aware of the numerous disparities that exist in our society. Every day there is a new study outlining the severity of the problem, where the issue is jobs, health care, or education. We have to face up to the fact that our problems are real, difficult, and will not be solved overnight. There are no quick fixes. However, that does not mean that there are no answers. That does not mean we should not get to work. And most importantly, that does not mean that we do not have the ability to solve these problems. Right now, too often, we don't have a real dialogue between community groups and government. One of the ways that we are going to solve these complex issues that are before us is to have a real community dialogue. Being honest and authentic will not be easy, but we must be willing to undertake this task. I offer this initiative on equity to you as a means to facilitate real, meaningful dialogue between community groups and state government. Again, if we are to achieve the full potential of all of our citizens, we need to have a real, authentic collaboration between administrative agencies and state government and community groups. I have spoken with several of my commissioner colleagues, and all of them want to figure out how to have a more meaningful community engagement with communities of color, with people who are disenfranchised. And this department is eager to figure out how to facilitate those conversations between the state administrative agencies. I therefore ask this organization here today to help me to devise a process to help facilitate more real and authentic dialogue and communication between this organization and your particular spheres of influence. How can we dialogue together as it relates to these administrative agencies? I ask you, will you help me foster a real and authentic dialogue? In return, I will pledge to help the families you serve build their social capital by working hard to create economic opportunity and support. In return, I will pledge to help the families you serve build their emotional capital of love, adaptability, and staying power in tough times. In return, I will pledge to help the families you serve build their civic capital to create a better future, not only for their family, but for every family, for every child in Minnesota. I want to thank the Family Partnership for inviting me here today. I am hopeful that this won't be the last time in which we get an opportunity to dialogue and to speak. I am completely sincere when I say we need to figure out within state government the answers to the complex problems that face all of us. And we can't do that without your input, without the input of the people that you know engaged in a real and authentic dialogue. Thank you very much for this opportunity.